What if people pleasing isn't a flaw, but a stage of development? Today, we're talking about power, boundaries, and growth, especially for women navigating expectations in the workplace. If you've ever said yes when you wanted to say no, avoided conflict to keep the peace, felt responsible for others' emotions, this episode is for you. And I'm pretty sure I've just described every woman on the planet.
Literally, if you've struggled with boundaries, you're not alone. Please follow us on Facebook and share this episode and leave a review because learning to navigate power is part of growth, not failure.
Welcome to Communication Skills for Working Women. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Rose May. Do you find yourself second guessing or avoiding conversations because you're worried about being misunderstood?
You're not alone. On this show, we're sharing tangible tools for assertiveness, emotional resilience, and real life communication wins and fails.
Let's sharpen our communication together.
I know someone, and we'll call her Asia, who said, I don't even know what I want anymore. I just know what everyone else needs. She was professional. She was a professional taking care of everyone else. I mean, in her job, in her profession, that is what she truly did. She took care of everyone else. At work, if someone needed something, they all went to her. Like everyone just knew that is who you go to. And she was reliable and kind and somehow always magically available to do whatever everyone needed. I didn't work with her directly, but I saw this often and she would tell me about it. And I saw her over the years get really exhausted. And I also saw her want more and want to progress in her career. And so she did. She got furthered her education and decided to um, apply for different jobs. And that in that process, that meant saying no to people. And
Mm,
that meant not always being available because she was pursuing things for herself.
mm.
It was a challenging time, and she was a superstar throughout it. So when she tried to set boundaries, it really felt like she was like betraying something deeper within herself. But in talking with her, she would keep that goal that she was working towards always in the forefront of her mind. And so even when it was hard and she wasn't able to do what she had always done, she was able to stay focused on that greater goal. But it still felt like in the process of that, there was a little bit of like losing herself and reestablishing who she is in the process.
Yeah, and that's adult development. That is us renegotiating and constantly navigating our environment so we can like recalibrate or renegotiate like who we are, how we want to show up in these spaces. And so, yeah, this adult development, this is part of the shift. It's going from being defined by our relationships, which it sounds like she really was in so many ways,
Yeah.
to defining ourselves within our relationships. And remember, this is specific to people pleasing, right? And so thinking about being defined by your relationships versus defining yourself within your relationships in the context of people pleasing.
So you want to ask yourself, what am I prioritizing? Am I prioritizing harmony over honesty? Was she prioritizing just taking care of everybody else instead of setting that boundary? People pleasing often protects relationships, but it often protects them at a cost.
Hmm. And I think it's really important to recognize too, like there are so many cultures that prioritize harmony, right? Which is I want to honor and respect that and recognize that and recognize the systems that we're in terms of working in professional settings where sometimes that's not conducive to maybe our identity negotiation in our workplaces. And so I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to honor that because I think that's really important and recognize that parts of that can be harmful just the way that the other end can be, right? Individualism can be so wonderful in
Mhm.
accountability and being able to trust ourselves, and individualism can be really, really harmful in work settings too. So honoring but recognizing the harm, potential harm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you afraid will happen? Some common fears are people will be upset, or I'll be seen as difficult, or I'll lose connection. And those fears are real fears and definitely possibilities. They're not always accurate, though.
Right. And I think they're probably not always accurate because we tend to go to like an extreme, right? Where
Hmm.
they may change. Like someone may get
Hmm.
upset for a minute, or they may feel uncomfortable, or they may
Hmm.
think you're being difficult, you know, especially if you aren't putting them as a priority anymore. You're setting a
Hmm.
boundary. But it tends to work out.
Yeah.
So,
For the most part, it tends to work out. And also, yeah, it does create some discomfort. Sometimes we're avoiding the discomfort of the nature of a relationship changing. Ooh, that feels scary.
right, it does. So what values are influencing us during these times? This is where just being aware of your values really, really matters. So what values am I honoring? Am I honoring honesty and being content? Am I honoring respect and harmony? The goal isn't to reject your values, but to balance them.
And if that's the case, then self-authorship would look like reframing the way that we're thinking about this, right? I can care about others and have boundaries. I can value collectivism and have boundaries. I can value respect and harmony. It's not an either or. It's both of these things can exist in the same space, and what becomes really uncomfortable is trying to figure out what that looks like. Because that's
Yeah.
hard. It's really hard.
It is, and especially when you're doing something that is so aligned with your values, and then someone isn't behaving in a way that's in alignment with your values, it can be really
Hmm.
challenging. Very, very,
Yeah.
very challenging.
Yeah.
So, we're going to practice a boundary. We're going to do an experiment. So, you could try, I'm not able to make that. We're going to try, I'm not able to take that on right now. Ooh, that feels good. I'm not able to take that on right now. I need more time to think about that. It's simple, it's clear, it's respectful. Can I just say to this last weekend, I was asked to do something. And as I was looking at my calendar, I could feel it in my body that it was too much.
Hmm.
And I didn't say no. I said yes. And I've paid the price for it.
Hmm.
Like, and so we're not going to get it right all the time, but awareness is huge.
Yeah.
Like this time I was cognizant before I said yes. I still said yes, but then even afterward, when I was like, man, that was too much, I was able to be compassionate to myself and say, like, okay, that was too much. I need to do this to kind of repair myself. And not repair because I was like so broken, but just I had stretched myself further than I was capable.
I love that you're saying that because, well, two things. One, I know boundary is an overused word in today's vernacular. And I want to point out that, like, creating a boundary is really discussing what you're able and capable of doing, right? So, the I'm not able to take that on right now is not punitive to anyone else. It might be received in a way by other people, but you're really just explaining what you have the capacity to do. Or I need more
Hmm.
time to think about that. I don't like making decisions like out of desperation, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it's important for me to step back and think about something. And so I will often say, "Oh, let me think about that and get back to you," because that's important to me. And that is that I do feel like that is a boundary that allows me to continue to grow in my identity of being able to make decisions based off of the information that I can gather in the meantime, but also I don't want to be the person that says yes to everything. And at
Right.
the same time, I'm realizing that there are times I was just thinking to myself, okay, when this thing is over, this thing is over, and this thing is over, I have more time for this. And I was like, you know what's going to happen, Rosemary? You're just going to put more on your plate. And I was thinking, okay, no, that's actually what I'm not going to do. I am not going to do that. I am going to say no to things. So, a lot of thoughts on that
A lot of thoughts.
experiment.
And with adult development, our capacity changes throughout our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like we could do all these things before and we were fine, and now
Mm-hmm.
we can't, or we couldn't before and now we can.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that it's important to acknowledge the fact that we are always changing and our boundaries can change.
Absolutely.
And remember that our boundaries are what we will do or not do. It has zero to do with other people's behaviors, choices, decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Boundaries are what we will or will not do.
So, final last step. You know what we're going to ask you to do. We're going to ask you to assess the data. What did you learn by enacting your experiment? Most people will find that relationships don't always collapse, that the respect that our colleagues or our friends or our partners or our loved ones have for us often increases, and that our energy returns because we can say no and we're not betraying ourselves by constantly people pleasing. Most importantly, we learn that we can stay connected to ourselves without abandoning ourselves. We can stay connected with other people without abandoning ourselves.
We just have to really remember that people pleasing isn't weakness.
Hmm.
It's often where we start. Like, it's
And it,
okay.
yes, and it was probably adaptive in some form,
Absolutely. It probably
right?
kept us alive. It probably
Hmm.
brought us connections. Like,
Hmm.
it's
Keeps us within our
okay.
communities.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
okay. If you're people pleaser, it's okay.
Hmm.
And because
Just
we
work on
all
it.
start. So growth is learning how to stay in relationships without disappearing, even when they get maybe a little uncomfortable or we change our boundaries. And there's always room for growth in all of this. So thank you so much for listening. If this resonated with you, share it with a friend. And remember, speak clearly and listen bravely.
When you feel confident in your communication, everything changes.
We'd love to hear your wins, failures, and insights on Instagram at Communication Skills for Women. Leave a review and connect with us.
Until next time, speak clearly and listen bravely.